Oh, hey there. If you are watching this video and you haven't watched part one of what is the LGBTQ community, what do those funny letters stand for, I would suggest watching that unless you are someone who already knows what all those fun letters stand for, in which case just keep watching because then there's just like me and being myself and Shanhanigans and whatnot. Anyways, but if you are someone who does, if I say LGBTQ and you don't know what that means, you should definitely watch this video first. There's going to be a little box that'll appear here. Actually, click on my tattoo. Click on my tattoo and it'll take you to the first video. I swear it's not morbid. Okay, now we're going to flip the screen and I'm going to become very attractive. If you meet somebody who says, my preferred pronouns are they, them, theirs, they might be someone who identifies as genderqueer. Genderqueer means someone who doesn't identify as entirely male or entirely female. And I know that might be a shocker to you that there are more than just male and female in the world, but it's true. Even if their bodies look a certain way, it doesn't mean that that's who they are. And you know what your job is when they say that they're genderqueer? You say, okay. If you mess up and use he, him, or she, hers, just say, sorry, correct yourself, and then just keep going. More than anything, this just needs to become normal, because it is normal. Other terms and identities, people might say that they're non-binary, gender non-conforming, gender fluid, which all have differences in how they express themselves. The important thing to know is that when people tell you who they are, believe them. It's very, very simple. Next one on the list is Q, which stands for queer. Queer is a term used to refer to lesbian, gay, bisexual, and often also transgender people. Some people use the term queer as an alternative to just saying gay because it's more inclusive, but depending on who you're talking to, the word queer can either be super empowering or quite negative and derogatory. It's very much a generational thing. I personally think of queer as a catch-all for anything that is not heteronormative. Personally, I often refer to our community as the LGBTQ or LGBTQ plus community because I think it's pretty inclusive. I also say the word the queer community. But again, it just depends on who you're talking to. I also know people who they themselves describe their sexual orientation as queer, not strictly saying that they're bisexual or gay or lesbian, but it just is kind of, you know, not straight, possibly not cisgender. So it's kind of ambiguous in many senses, but it's a good catch-all term, and I think it's going to be in the future how we refer to this community that we inhabit. I, which stands for intersex. Intersex is a term used for people who are born with reproductive or sexual anatomy and or chromosome patterns that do not seem to fit the typical definitions of male or female. Probably one of the most underrepresented groups of people within the queer community, because people generally don't know what to do with someone who says, oh, I'm intersex. It's important to note that this is a biological condition, that people don't choose to be intersex, they are born that way. When people yell at me and say, God created them male and female, there's nothing in between, I literally can point to the intersex people that I know from the internet and say, well, then what about this person who literally was born, you know, kind of in between male and female? What does that mean in terms of the Bible? It throws people for a loop. Historically, intersex people have been the victims of doctors choosing to do what they feel is best for a child. So if a child is born with ambiguous genitalia that doesn't really scream male or female, they will do some quick cosmetic surgery, removing genitalia or trying to fix a child so that they look like either a typical male or a typical female. And that is not right because the bodies of an intersex person belong to said intersex person. Then past the I, we've got an A, which stands for asexual. And I was not doing a white power thing. This is A in sign language, just so you know. Asexual people are individuals who are not attracted to anyone and do not necessarily have a sexual orientation. Some folks refer to themselves as ace as well. And yes, that's also a thing. You can be a person who you're not attracted to boys or girls or non-binary people or anybody else in between. And that's okay too. Under the umbrella of asexual, there's also things like people who refer to themselves as gray ace, as homoromantic or heteroromantic. And just because you're not sexually attracted to somebody doesn't mean you can't be romantically attracted to them, or that you don't desire a deep connected relationship with other people. It just means that you don't want to have sex with other people. Asexuality can play itself out in a number of different ways too, a lot of which I am honestly fairly clueless on. So if you're an asexual person out there and you want to talk about your experiences on my channel, hit me up because I want to know more about you. That was weird, I'm sorry. that is it for your little primer video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. Share it with your friends who may not know what LGBTQIA stand for. Share it with your mom who might not know anything about this. And as always, you can connect with me through my blog, my podcast called A Tiny Revolution on iTunes, and you can connect with me and become a supporter of this work on Patreon. All the links are in the description below, and also comment below. I want to hear about your experiences, how you describe your sexual orientation or gender identity, and I would really love to know what kind of videos you want to see from this channel. So go ahead and leave a comment below. Thanks so much, bye!